10, into the date number 10 with the legendary Dim. What's going on, brother? Tell me what's been happening, man.
Oh man,
What's been happening lately?
man, it's always good when we catch up, man. Bro, look, in terms of me, mostly, I'm in entrepreneur land. You know, I'm someone who's like, for those of you who haven't seen the first one or whatever, like I worked in corporate for 8 years. I've left corporate and for good, you know, and I built my own business and do this work with men. So for me, other than Raw, which you know about, like every month, I'm running a men's retreat. So basically, when I kind of got out of the game, when I got out of corporate, I was doing one-on-one coaching. But basically, bro, I was sitting. There was this moment during the retreat, our last retreat. I'm sitting there and there's 9 guys around me, and I was like, man, I'm like really having a lot of fun right now, you know? Yeah. And then I was like, wow, like I wasn't going for that. Well, funnily enough, but I was like, this is because it's essentially a weekend with the boys, right? So of course you have fun.
Oh, so this is the this is, for those who are watching, it's different to the Raw sessions you have. This is a couple of nights, right? You take a group of men away, like you guys go away, and then you work, like you basically work on them for 3 days.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And like what's the whole purpose and the idea behind it?
So you know what? It was touching on what we talked about last time, because our first podcast we actually started to like. It was all a thought in my head, and it was like a concept. So since then, we've trial run. We're doing it now. So what it's about is there's goal setting, but you meet people who achieve their goals, and then you have people who don't achieve their goals. And what you realize is, like, you need to actually become a certain type of person to be able to achieve your goals. And what I mean by that is this. This is a true story, right? Like from one of the last guys at the podcast who you know, the last guys at the retreat who you know. He wanted to lose weight, right? And he thought of losing weight when I really pushed him in his subconscious mind, as he goes, man, losing weight is an uphill battle, and it's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, you know. And he's been trying to lose weight for a long time. So basically, even when he had gone 3 steps forward, he would find a way to go 2 steps back. You know what I mean? Like, So with him, we pushed him to change the way he viewed the world, right? And viewed the journey. So now he thinks of losing weight as you know what I'm saying? I love you, man. He thinks of losing weight as a straight line with some pit stops. And obvious, and everyone has a minimum standard for going for gym. I'm scared of asking you this question because I know your minimum. Like, okay, if I was to ask you, and I reckon the audience would love this, how many times would you love to go to the gym? Sorry, at a bare minimum standard. How many times will you exercise a week?
Just right now?
Yeah, right.
6 times.
6 times at a bare minimum.
The bare
minimum.
Yeah, I mean bare minimum. Yeah, bare minimum.
What's bare minimum?
Maybe like 4 or 5.
Okay.
In that region. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Say it's 4. Right? You said 4 or 5, right?
You said bare minimum.
Yeah, bare minimum 4, right? Right.
No, fuck me up.
Yeah. I didn't come on your show.
Shit,
man.
man.
Come with disrespect. So you got always a good one with us, man. So 4 is your bare minimum. But how many times, like, ideally, would you like to go to a week? Go to the
if I could, 6 probably, like 6 times,
So therefore, do you end up in realistically going 5 days a week or so? Yeah. So what I was trying to illustrate to people, and hopefully they tried it themselves. Often we don't actually get our highest aspiration, but we damn sure get our minimum standard. And in the end, we end up usually an average between the two. So if I was to exaggerate the example out a bit more, if your minimum standard to go to the gym was 2 times a week you'd exercise a bare minimum, but you know you should be going 6. In the end, you kind of end up going 4. You come into an average. But the thing is, if you're a dude who's trying to lose 20 kilos and your bare minimum is 2, it doesn't matter what you should. At the end of the day, like, the true way to hit your goal is to change what your bare minimum is. So if you know so when you're prepping for a fight, are we allowed to say what your bare minimum is, or is that like proprietary? Is that
No.
okay?
It's
So,
not like I'm
so what's your bare minimum when you prep for a fight?
So preparing 6 times bare minimum.
Right.
Bare minimum.
So you see that you see the difference there, even the intensity, right?
Yeah.
So basically, like, because you know when it's game time is on, bare minimum. So you saw that in intensity, right?
And even on the Sunday or whatever it is, the 7th day, that technique is a rest day. It's almost active rest. So you're not going to be lazing around, like you still want to go for a walk, go for a walk, or just whatever. But I mean, if you're talking in real sense in terms of proper gym workout, yes, bare minimum 6 without a shadow of doubt.
So I knew that you would know the difference. I knew that maybe you didn't know this concept, but you were applying it, because that's exactly right. When it's off season, bare minimum is 4, but like when it's on, it's like 6, borderline 7. Right? And because the person that you need to become to win that fight is probably not the person who's in off season. Right? Like, and so in the same way, that's the core thing that we realize is like, that's why you have to go through this huge journey, and if you make it, you may achieve your goal. But really what we're trying to do is like reverse engineer, well, what's the type of person you actually need to be to have that kind of life, or when you extend a goal and you have many goals, that's like a lifestyle, So for you to have that lifestyle, what's the type of person you actually need to be, and do you need to be for example, good at sales, right? Like if you're in that type of business, or good with cameras, or good at like if you unpack what good with videography really means, part of it is like you're able to see a perfect picture, and maybe you're able to have really good people skills. And you may remember what we talked about last time, which was like, I gave the example of when I was at uni, I thought that I was bad at technical skills. Remember that? And then I learned how to like become good at technical skills. Basically, when you understand who it is, the type of person you need to become, then there are technical ways where you can start to, even if you're an introvert, you can learn to become a good people person, because these are all the elements you're actually going to need to achieve your goals. So at a crux, that is the main theme of this retreat. Like, it's really understanding who you are, but then also where you want to be, and what's that gap, and then who do you need to become to actually achieve it, and then helping you achieve that. That's what it is, man. So
what's some of the you don't have to go into detail about it, but what's the kind of the vibe and the results of these people that have gone through this, I wouldn't know what you would exact word.
It's beautiful, the process.
Journey, process.
Oh man, it's beautiful. I mean, obviously, there's the stuff that's in the marketing, but for me, the best thing is the camaraderie that comes out of it. Because I think, especially for people watching this podcast, people are like, man, I wish I knew more people, like-minded people, like people I could talk about this shit with. I think out of the marketing aside, the best thing they get out of it is like the click, like the support network, because yes, they come out charts and they know what goals they're going to get, and then you just see them losing the weight or getting the promotion, or like one of my mutual friends, like he actually made himself, like, got a volunteer redundancy for his job, and he and his wife started this business to care for cats, because they were like, so basically that was a way that they could reconnect as a couple and do something they were actually really passionate about. So you see, like, some people make some really nice life changes, but apart from that, my favorite thing is like we have like a WhatsApp group like with all the boys in it, and they're all like talking without me. They catch up without me, like stuff like that, and the fact that you're able to bring people, like-minded people together, is a beautiful thing.
Like but you would like, it would have to be something that you have to practice outside of those days as well, right? Like it's easy to kind of dive into something like, for example, okay, I'm gonna go do this, pay for it, and there you are. But then the truth is that
that's not where that
eventually you're gonna have to come back to reality and come and face, whatever it is, the obstacles and the chaos and the whatever it is that sent you there in the first place.
Man.
And then it's easy to not be able to practice that, because not that everyone doesn't, or whatever you've learned from that process, it's really just, you got to keep applying it. It's not going to just change, and I think that's what I'm so big on, like just repetition, because it's just you got to, and routine, because it's not going to just happen straight away. Like I was saying, going back to you talk about fitness, and just even like
putting you on the spot,
losing weight and whatever, right? Going back to that, I was just telling someone today, actually, I was like, man, it's so hard to get fit, but it's so easy to be unfit when you think about it. There's no balance. There's no, I'll meet you halfway. Like,
I'm very passionate.
It just shows you that alone, like sports and things that you do outside of just your daily working life, has life lessons in them. And that's how I started. I apply a lot of just what I go through or what I learned from a certain experience. It just teaches me a life lesson. Like for me, even just fighting, there was so much life lessons in there that I brought back to life. You know what I mean? So it's so important, just other than just doing whatever you do, finding a routine and finding a healthy routine that allows you to like recover and be able to go through whatever experiences you're going through in your head from whatever it is that you're going through in life. You know what I mean? And I think if you have that off balance, even in your bad days, you'll realize you'll be able to deal with it much better than if you weren't, So I think what people gotta know is it's not like some miracle shit, like, you go 2-3 days and it's like, okay, I'm all right.
I'm sick now.
It's something, it's something you gotta work for
always,
after that.
Or it's who you become. Bro, I mean, couple of things there. I mean, in terms of the original question of like what do they do after that? So after that, we go into 6 weeks of like a 6-week program where every week they have like accountability. Like we jump on like a group call together, and we say, hey man, last week you said you were going to do all this, like what happened, so it's like an accountability.
Okay, nice. Accountability is probably the right word to use to kind of theme up what we spoke about just before.
Just to make sure.
Having accountability.
Otherwise you're just having this nice weekend where you just think, I'm going to do this, I'll become a billionaire, man, but then game time comes to sleep in, so it's not like that. No, after that, we're kind of just joined on this like WhatsApp group, and we have like 6 weeks of accountability group calls where we just stay together as a clique, basically during the period afterwards. So we make sure we're actually supporting each other, making good on what we said we we're going to do. And then after that, we do like a kind of graduates only meetup every month, near where I live, underneath the harbour bridge, right? But basically,
his brother, he's in a different part of Sydney now.
Oh, it's nice to be back here. Oh man, I was about to say same number, same hood to someone. I'm like, I can't say that. But no man, so after that that's just a community that's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger with every group that comes out, and every group has gone through the same thing. So I couldn't agree more. But also, man, I think what might be a benefit, and I just thought of this, is like maybe we can both share the like morning routines or routines that we find quite helpful to us, because I really do. So for example, one of the big things that come out of Fire Pit was affirmations, which I don't know if you ever tried that. You know what they ask? So like Connor, dude, when you watch an interview with Connor, you can tell this guy is he has brainwashed himself so much, because he's just like you see the way he talks, he's just like, man, like this industry's full of sharks, but I'm the fucking whale, man. I'm a proper Irish animal, like the way he talks. Like the thing is, he has said these phrases to himself so many times that when it's game time, like the thought that comes to his head is, I'm a proper Irish animal. And so in the same way, like an affirmation that I used was, I am good enough. I am smart, worthy, and helpful of taking anybody's time. Knowing I am good enough makes me feel full and present as a, blah, 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 blah. So like the reason I'm able to rattle it off just like that is because I've just said it that many times. And then the thing is, when you get on the sales call or whatever that tense situation is for you, that something like an affirmation, if you've done it every morning and every night, like when it's at that tense situation, the thought that comes up to you isn't some random thought that you heard on the street or whatever. It's a premeditated thought that you have prepared so that when it's game time, you know exactly what to think, and then you act in accordance to it, like out of impulse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100% makes sense. Yeah. I don't think I'm at that level in terms of just having an affirmation that I say in the morning, or But what I will tell you is that as of like last week, shout out to Nero, who's an emotional resilience coach. Big bro. We just, after the couple of podcasts ago, he hit me up on the on the DMs. That's the kind of DMs I get, emotional resilience coaches, man. But and we had a chat. I won't go into detail what we spoke about, but we just had a long chat, and he just got a hold of what I'm trying to do, and man, he just one day I was a couple of scotches in deep, and he rang me, and I went to a side, just had a chat to him. I had a filming the next day, and he was just trying to understand what my vision was, to give me a vision. So I basically, we just had an open conversation. Through the open conversation, he came up with little statements and things that kind of were going to build into what my vision is.
Yes.
Right? And we just talked a little bit about that and whatnot. And, long story short, the next day, even when we were doing the filming and whatnot for this, the whole process of me filming changed, because what I was looking for. So, something along the lines of being able to connect humanity, to be able to connect humanity through the art of storytelling, right? So he was asking about what motion entertainment, is about, and what it is, why am I doing it, what is it that I'm trying to do, and what, and so, he's like, man, I can tell you're motivated, I can tell you're passionate, you need those things. But he goes, to someone who doesn't know what you're doing, how are you going to tell them? You need to have a vision as to what it is. And he goes, once you nail down the vision, because everything else is just going to come like that, and that's how I felt. And I gave him feedback that day. I hit him up the next day, I think, or we spoke the next day, and I told him, man, so I'll just tell the story here. With the filming itself, it was a car show, right? And as much as I was there for the car show, what I saw was, why am I there? It's because to celebrate the culture, the event. But how are you going to celebrate it? It's not just the cars, it's
the lowrider one, right?
Yeah, the people.
Yeah.
The people, the families, the smiles on their face, the food trucks, because that's what
it's part of the culture, bro.
And so when I was there, it hit me, and it was like, while everyone was there, I went to the food trucks and I wanted to capture the dogs, because there's people with dogs and stuff. More than just, it's look who's coming together. It's their third year. Shout out to Lowrider Sunday. It was their third year, and it's the largest turnout they've had so far. But it's just, what it was that it wasn't like, you don't have to love lowriders to. It was just something that people came down the coast for. Families were there, and it's a good place to hang out for the day. There's food, you get to check out some cars, there's some activities and stuff. They had a proper tug-of-war machine, a proper one, a legit one. And it was just fun. It was a fun day, and and everything now is just whatever I think, I put it back to that. So I don't have a solid affirmation in the morning, but I am at the stage now where, not that I understand about, I've always understood about it. There's certain things that it's like having the Mercer Entertainment logo. It's on my computer screen, it's on my laptop, and it's a thing. So no matter what kind of day I have, when the TV's on and it's there, it's like, it brings back everything. It brings back everything. So, but I do understand, and I can see the power of it, because, I got to, feel what that meant, really thinking about what it is, and he asked me, he's like, how does that make you feel? And I said to him, I'm like, man, fuck, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good, just reading that and making making it resonate with, this is what I'm trying to do, so
amen, man. And look, I think what you're about to say as well was, while you may not be on the road to affirmations, you're visualizing. That's what you're saying.
And I always have, what you got to remember is, not yourself, but you will understand, even me sitting here with you on my 10th podcast, by the way, motherfuckers, we hit double digit, we haven't even scratched the surface yet. But I just got to,
Amen.
But this is 10 years, 12 years of thinking. So if I was to forget about the idea, if it was just to be some sort of phase or some sort of wave that just comes in and out, it would have been. Because 10 years, 12 years is a long time. I was 20 years old when I even thought of this idea, let alone what I wanted to call it, let alone find out this is what I want the logo to be like. I trademarked it, you know, because that's how strong I felt about it. But there were stages where it almost seemed impossible it was going to happen. But I always believed in the idea, believed what it could do. And that was always in me. No matter what I did, what I saw, you know, even to, you know, some of the, I told you I'm working on a documentary and stuff, like that was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when I thought of the idea that, man, I would love to tell this story one day. You know what I mean? So this ain't overnight, but there's so much more to go. But what I think what people got to realize is that some things are always in you, and it never changes. And it's not for any reason. It's not for a bad reason, a good reason. There's an absolute reason as to why certain things stay with you no matter what you go through in life. You know, and for some people, I know, when they, Dan I had yesterday, I was telling you about it, he said it, and he was like, it almost affects your body to a state of like, almost, you feel depressed and you feel like it affects you. And that's a real problem. Because if it's affecting you, it's going to affect everything else. But the real question is, why is it affecting you? And if you don't answer that question, then you're going to just fucking live in misery.
Yes.
You know, and no one wants to live in misery, especially mentally. You know, you can go and work a full-time job, earn enough money, buy a house and whatever, but that feeling, if that doesn't go,
it doesn't.
And that's what you see in all the generations, you know, especially in our culture. I'm sure a lot of, you know, migrant cultures, you see that with it's not that they didn't try their best or whatnot. You see certain walls and boundaries that they have to live past, and it just becomes a cycle, you know, and that's all it is. It's not that they were old school or whatever. It's just that was the boundary, that was the parameters they worked around. The pattern, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that reminds me, to be honest, bro, of what we were just talking about.
I brought this Lankan cup straight to the
podcast. I thought I was I'm like, is that what I'm thinking?
It was an accident, but I'm glad I did.
Well, I don't think he got that from Kmart.
No. This shit's like
straight from Colombo.
Straight from Colombo.
Oh man, you know what we're talking about with Michael Jordan. So
yeah, man, I was gonna bring that up anyway, and get to the little thing about the Wolves as well. I like that.
Oh
yeah,
my
start with
man.
Michael Jordan.
How would you like to frame the question to me? Like, just so people know what we're talking about.
Just tell me what you were telling me about that situation.
So basically, watching the Michael Jordan Hall of Fame speech, MJ was essentially supposed to go up on the stage and just say thank you very much and then come down. Instead, he spoke for 23 minutes. And the majority of it, and you can Google it, right? Like MJ Hall of Fame or Michael Jordan Hall of Fame speech. The majority of the speech was him saying thank you in this snidey type of way to people who doubted him. And people kind of were like, what? Like, it's an odd thing to, and the lesson, like, so Ryan Holiday is this the guy who writes about stoicism and stuff, you know, like a big writer and stuff. Obstacle is the way, the Daily Stoic. He has some texts like that. He's talking to Tom Bellew, and they talked about this commencement, this Hall of Fame speech, and he essentially said, man, like, do you have to become a monster for you to get to MJ's level? Do you have to become a monster and lose like parts of you to actually do that, right? And what the discussion was like, well, is that the case? Because look at MJ, he has no, he's not even able to enjoy it because of who he had to become. And so I think to your point, like what you're saying is like, you have to have like appreciation. You have to have the faculty to just appreciate, you know. And I think the to your point about the wolf point, Arnold Schwarzenegger said the wolf at the top of the hill isn't as hungry as the wolf on its way up. And essentially what we were discussing was like, I don't know exactly how you integrate the two, but how do you integrate the two? Like, because you still need to be hungry. Richard Branson's hungry. But at the same time, you still need but so is Michael Jordan.
Yeah, yeah.
But you still need the faculty to be able to
Yeah.
appreciate. Otherwise, you miss out on life.
Yeah,
So-
I think they just find different motivations and inspirations as things go on. You know what I mean? But yeah, but to you know, the idea, the point is that yeah, I think I mean, look at it this way: if the wolf at the top, you know, like you even look at sport in general, just champion teams, and you know, they go 2 years in a row, you know, winning it, you know, and like when you're the top dog, everyone's hungry to take you down. You know, they know they lift even a really you know below par team, right? Where the odds are like on the championship team because it's like just based on history, based on the team,
Yeah.
and they'll lift. They may still lose or whatever, but they'll lift. You know what I mean? So just the mentality to know you're the top dog, you know they're coming for you, and like even Bob fighting remaining champions, they have to find inspiration from somewhere and a hunger from somewhere because like you said, it is easy to be complacent when you're unchampion because you forget what it's like to be hungry to want what that person has. But you look at certain decorated fighters and champions, I'm only talking about that because the first thing that comes to my head.
Yeah.
But you look at how long they've defended title. I mean, look at Floyd, for example. Put aside him picking fights or whatever, that everyone has their argument for it, but he's 50-0. You know, and that's 50 professional fights, or 50 pro fights. But you know, in that 50, he's managed to beat everybody. Put aside who should have won or whether they should have lost. But I'm just talking in general. Like, fuck, gotta be inspired, man. You gotta be hungry. You gotta have motivation. You gotta like, it's tiring to be the top dog all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everything, you know, there's a lot more than just the fighting. It's the lights are on you, cameras are on you. You know, there's mentally, there's so much more to consume that you wouldn't when you just every day go to the gym, training, you know what I mean? Now it's like, yeah, man. So it goes both ways, man. I think, you know, when you get up there, the hardest thing is staying on top. How do you stay motivated? How do you keep focused?
How do you stay inspired?
Exactly, man. I think these guys that you mentioned, like Branson, all of them, have always realized that and had that, knowing that, man, no matter what we do, there's always the next thing. There's always the next thing. There's always the next thing.
Well, what I would love to know is like, what drives you then? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. Man, it's a good question.
I'd love to know, man. Because can I just say this, man? I don't know who watches this, who knows your you.
Yeah.
But I've had I've just been very lucky because I've got to watch you since I first met you at 18 years old, coming into a bar and playing California Love. Followed by the next episode, right? And the security tried to shut you down, and you didn't.
Yeah, man, they don't know, man. I try to keep that under the rug, but
you and Godfrey, I remember that, right? So I've had the privilege of watching you for well over 10 years, right? Like closely, and I've seen an unbelievable transformation that you have gone through. So through so many things, you should be so damn proud of yourself. It's like I'm tearful to So I'd love to know what inspires you now.
It's interesting, man. I mean, that like when you talked about even just come a long way, like I think that's the thing with like you talk about being inspired. Like I think sometimes I don't smell the roses because I just feel like I'm not satisfied, you know. But then certain people, close people, whatever the ones that I look to will make me realize, like, or even Nusha, like, look what you've done already. And I think it's because I didn't put enough value to it till I realized that, man, it's not easy for everyone to do some of the things that I've done, and only I know, and the people that have been through that journey know, there's no ifs or buts. You've seen it, you know what I mean? So I realized, like, I think, like I said, going back, and I've probably, mentioned it before, like, just for me at that early stage, all I compared it to was, am I going to uni? What kind of job am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do with my life? That was it. That's all the thoughts that are going in my head, along with the fact that you just turned 18, so you just want to fucking get on the piss every week, right? Every weekend, you're in that phase.
Yeah.
But that's all I ever thought about. So getting a job, earning money, having enough money to, one day take care of a family and all these things, that's the only things that were going through my head. I'm like, what am I going to do? I fucked up HSC and everything. I didn't know all those when I was 15, 16, 17, 18 that I was addicted, and I was inspired by the things that I am now. Art, like the way the storytelling, like watching certain things, like even with music, you know me as you know, with my music and fucking how deep I can go, you know, like artists and how they conduct themselves and how interviews are done, how they brand themselves, how you know they storytell. I was always addicted to those things. I was just drawn into it. I just never had the perspective to sit down and be like, dude, you love this shit. And like every morning since I was full time 19 till I was to me talking to you right now today. I read up on you know the hip hop news to see what kind of shit's going on, how they, you know what I mean, and I see it in a different way. And then I felt like one day as a country, as a nation, as a culture, we're gonna move that way. We're gonna be you know, one day it's gonna get to a point that that's how it's going to move forward. We're going to have the same type of culture and storytelling and how everything integrates like the US and Europe have for so long. You know, I felt like we were still babies, we're still behind, you know, but that day was going to come. But I was just inspired by like what was pushing me was that like I had a like the spirit, how what I felt when I did these things just was unmatched. You know, the closest thing that came to even that was when I was competing. But it wasn't something I wanted to do. You know, it's just something that I found along the way and I felt the most purest of me, like when I did that, you know, where I felt like this is me, like I feel like me, you know? And every time I feel like that, the only other time I felt like that is when I think about these ideas and, you know, so I think for me it's legacy, man, what drives me, because I think about even just my old man, like my dad had it good back at home in the sense that I can't even imagine what would have been at the age of 18, like his business and you know what I mean, and he gave up all of that to give us a better life, you know what I mean, and for me it's like now where I'm at in life, I'm reconnecting with my roots, I'm reconnecting with what it means to be a Jegathesan, you know, like, you know, and so for me, by the time I die, I want my name to mean something, not just what I've done, but the name Jegathesan. I want the contribution to society, like, because we don't get that chance back at home.
Yeah.
We don't have that chance anymore to build a name, to have a contribution, to be able to give something for generationals and for people to be like, man, this is of value, means of value, you know, and for me, that drives me, like, probably more than anything is that, like, I want to leave a name and a legacy that can carry on for generations because this is my home now, right? But the roots and the identity and like the things that he would have built up for, you know, God knows what, you know, knowing me, I would have definitely told him, fuck uni, I'm coming into your business, you know what I mean? Like, but God knows, you know what I mean? Like, you know, in terms of what he could have achieved and if he kept going, you know, and it's not to say, you know, hasn't achieved any, like, you know, that it's just, it hit me that to give up all that for family and, you know, your own aspiration, like, we talk about aspirations. Everyone has aspirations. You forget that, you know, when you're a child, that your parents had aspiration.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so for me it was like, man, like this name means something. You know, where I'm from, this name means something. This is my identity. This is something that, you know, I want people to be proud of. Like, you know, so for me, like that drives me, that motivates me. But the product of it is that I'm like I light up at the idea of being able to tell these stories of these amazing human beings, but in an artistic manner.
Absolutely, like it's coming out that way.
It's coming out that way.
Yeah,
you know. So for me, like I'm just that's what drives me. Like just that's what I want to kind of build it to be. Like where you just get to see, and then you know you're interconnecting people, you're connecting humanity, you're building wealth of each other too, just by being able to network with each other. You know, but it's to tell these different stories, but in such an artistic way that someone can resonate to it, see it, and be inspired by it. You know, but it's art. To put it down to one word, it's art. But the reason I not hesitate to say that, but some people might just think art drawings. Art is a big thing.
No, yeah.
Like, and you know, not in such a cocky way, but it's like my art is what my life is going to be. So whatever I do in my life, you know, I'm painting pictures, you know, and that's how I was going into a fight, boxing fight, even if it was amateur, whatever the fuck, bro, I trained like like this was the main event. When I was in there, it was like I was putting my family on my back. All the people that, you know what I mean? Like I get inspired by that legacy, that this is, live for the, yeah. So it's art, it's expression, form of expression. It's just everyone expresses things a different way. So for me, man, yeah, I just draw to those ideas and draw to that visualization. Like I play movies in my head, bro, without even writing it down. Like I just play movie scenarios, things, what I can do when I see certain things, and it comes to me in like a way, it's like almost like what the fuck's happening. And that's what I was battling with, because it's like I go to work, I'm thinking that this is it, like I'm doing well, I get a good salary and everything, but it's like there's this thing inside of me that I see outside in the world that's so hungry, that's so overpowering everything else, that not listening to it is being more hurtful for me than actually exploring what this little thing is in my, and part of that struggle or part of that battle is doing it with the environment you're in, because not everyone's going to understand. And really, that's what it really all goes back down to. A lot of people it's worry too much about these things that seem relevant, but it's really not. And before you know it, you find out, man, fuck, I paid attention to a lot of shit I should have.
Jay, can I say something? I think we're both very passionate on that particular point. And I beg you, please don't lose your train of thought. I just need to say something that I think can benefit a lot of people right now. There's this metaphor that I guess I came up with. I don't know where I got it from, so I think I came up with it. Bro, pick this. If you're a wolf and you're amongst sheep, if you howl, they're gonna freak out, right? But if you're a wolf and you're amongst dogs, right? I love everyone. You have a dog, I have a dog. Like everyone loves. They're the best creature on the face of the earth, right? Everyone loves dogs. If you're a wolf and you howl amongst dogs, the dogs will bark because they love you, right? But if you're a wolf and you're amongst wolves, if you howl, they will howl, and then you fucking take down a bear or something.
Roll in the pack.
Exactly, right? And so, my working in progress philosophy is this: don't fuck with the sheep. If you know you're a wolf, don't even waste your time with the sheep. You need to be balanced between wolves and dogs, right? Like there is a time and place for dogs, right? And for example, with my friends who are more like especially with my older friends who I haven't met on my entrepreneurial journey, but they have their own life paths, they're enjoying their life, and they're just beautiful people, and they help me remember who I am. With those guys, I don't expect to have a performance conversation or anything like that, but they help me remember who I am, and they're soulful. So for me, those are the dogs in my life, right? And they're equally as important as the wolves in my life, because being around the wolves helps me stay hungry and remember to keep pushing it. Because on that note of what we talked about with standards, if you're around, when you're training 6 times a week, you can't really be around someone who doesn't even take gym seriously at all. It's the wrong environment. You need to be in that same hungry environment. So when it's game time, you need to be amongst them, I really definitely hope.
And it's a good way to put it, because it's like I even look at some of the great trainers I've ever had, all of them, people that I got to train under and taught me and gave me time. I saw them as wolves. I saw them as the best of the best in my eyes, and for me, that was the bar. You may not reach the bar, but fuck,
But that's what you need to be around. That's what you not the bar. That's below you.
100%. So even how I went about that, that's how I ever went about it. You know what I mean? Was to try to find the best dudes But I was lucky enough to have a lot of friends who could do that. People that I met that were kind enough to do that. But yeah, I thought about that when you were talking about, just being you surrounding yourself around the wolves when it's game time, because really it is, man. It's a balance like anything, But I think lately what I've been feeling is just a lot of the it's always been in me, not just this, I mean all the answers out there and what I've been searching, and it's not to say that I roll through, I'm not even thinking this is what is going to end up happening. It may not, but it's the progress, and it's you don't know what something's going to lead you to something else. You don't know what it's going to lead to, you know. All you can do is kind of chase that feeling that keeps you hungry and keeps you motivated getting up, right? So I'm not too fixated on the end game. I'm just fixated on this is where I'm heading. This is where I feel complete, where I'm heading, the direction, you know. But
I feel you, man.
It's just like what I've just felt is that a lot of the things. That's why I'm pedantic about training and whatever it is. Even if people like that know me know, like even if I'm hungover, I get up and I fucking go. Even if it's the worst thing, that worst idea, because I know that if I condition myself, condition my mind, stay focused, and give my body what it needs in terms of to repair and to recover and go through whatever it is mentally you're going to go through when you're training, right? It needs that, and that keeps me straight, and that allows me to realize that a lot of it is on what decisions I decide to make, not so much like what's out there, and so my attention's just out there, like how can I blah blah blah. No, the more I look after myself, my health, my mind, and give it what it needs, I'm getting clarity on the things that genuinely interest me or motivate me or inspire me. So to sum it up, what I felt like is everything has always been in here. Your answers, what you're trying to do, your purpose, or whatever it is, but you're too busy looking out there for it. But really, it's in here. And I feel like the more you look after yourself and allow yourself to go through these processes and experiences, and it keeps you straight, keeps your mind fit, and it allows you to slow down things and really look at it from a proper perspective as to, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm doing, and it doesn't have to be always something entrepreneurial. It could be work, but it's just having that balance, because it's important, otherwise you start to let things creep in that are irrelevant, like I was mentioning before. Like you let it creep in like it matters, because you're tired. So when you're tired, you're not thinking straight. When you're thinking straight, you tend to let a bit of negativity creep in. And something that you said, which is something I've been, repeating, is the compound effect. And it's true. It just everything you project and everything you see is off the back of that feeling and that energy you have in yourself. So if you can be in a good state of mind, healthy, even through the working day and whatever it is, it gives you a better platform to deal with your life and deal with whatever's coming, the hurdles and things you want to do, and etc. And the stresses and whatever. So I was talking to the guy yesterday about it. Talking to Dan, yesterday. We were talking about meditation and all of that, and I said to him, with some of these things, I'm like, I can't believe it's not a must do every morning. You get what I'm saying?
Say that.
Like I just think, man, imagine you can get to this level of state of mind, right? And then what you could achieve throughout your day, and how you would feel, and how you would tackle things, and even just in the corporate world, in terms of like hard work, you'd be able to just have a different perspective on when you have a lot of work coming through and not being able to deal with it, as opposed to focused and just step by step. Just how you deal with that situation can be affected. You can affect that and have a positive effect on that by just doing some of these things that people are doing now. You with your raw sessions, or Dan with his qigong, and things like that. And you could just look at the day differently. You can see the day differently. You come. Even after work, it's not whatever, long day. You know what I mean? Your energy's up, and you probably utilize the day, mentally, physically, much better.
It's easy to slip that way.
Yeah. So,
dude, there's so. I mean, I wanted to take in everything you were saying. Like as you were saying it, like there were so many things that I was like, man, I'd love to ask you about this. I'd ask you about this. Ask you about this. Man, I couldn't agree more. Like obviously, like in terms of setting up yourself for success is how I call it, right, bro? So like for me, like there's like a morning routine that I follow every morning. Like I think most people have some kind of morning routine, and if they don't, for example, like in my humble opinion, doing some cardio in the morning just to get the heart pumping, even if it's 10 minutes, a 10-minute run with a song that inspires you. You can find heaps of gratitude meditations on YouTube, obviously, like Tony Robbins is the one I use. But like getting your heart pumping, like meditating on gratitude, and also visualization.
Yeah.
So like seeing what you want to create for the day, like that's a great way to just prime yourself for the day. And yeah, just having your goal, like having everything purposeful. Dude, a couple of things. I'm sure you had questions for me, but I just can't help, like,
Yeah, it's all good,
chat
man.
it up.
I knew when I was gonna do this platform, and I have to share it with you anyway, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I just like,
No,
if you don't mind.
I'm playing. Go for it.
Yeah.
What do you mean, man? What do you mean?
And well, here's something cool.
Yeah.
If I was to get you to fill in this sentence, so life is something, right? So when you go around and ask people, they'll say life is whatever, beautiful, temporary. Life is beautiful. Life is temporary. Life is evolving. Life is this. Like, what would you like? The first voice that comes to you, life is challenging.
Yeah.
And could you elaborate on why you use it?
Because I think if you're caught in the system of doing the same things, I think you just almost planned your life out, right? Like, in the sense that you almost can see the future, you know what I mean? If you're just happy and content with doing that, right? I think when you're a madman like me, with this creative, this, flow through my body and all these things that I want to do that seem so real, seem so achievable, right? It's not within arm reach, or like being able to just like, oh, I'm gonna fucking apply for this, and you know what I mean? You gotta work, and you gotta go through certain days where you may not be doing nothing. And someone like me, I'm hungry to do what it takes. But to have the platform, to make the networks, to build it to that, is gonna take time, and it's gonna take a lot of lonely time too.
Yeah.
There'll be times where you feel like, man, especially if you're used to always being busy, always working every day, and then you feel like, man, this, the frustrating thing for me is not having, I know where I'm heading and how I want to get there and what I'm trying to do, but it's having the resources and etc., which
100%.
was a natural progression that will come. That's why I say, like, I could sit here and try to think, how can I best do this? But first you got to be willing to do it. So then everything else will make sense, and you'll know where you got to go next, and then you don't know who's watching, and there's people that are genuinely interested in what you're doing as well. You know what I mean? So for me, the challenge which comes because, like, I know I'm confident, I know where I'm going, I know where I'm heading, but it's also the challenge of knowing that, to smell the roses and know that, okay, I'm doing what I got to do, you know what I mean? And it's just that battle between both, because some days it's like, but you're just ready to lose your shit, you know what I mean? And then some days it's like, man, like, you think about it, you're like, can I get there? Can I paint this picture that I see that seems so real, so achievable, right? I'm not worried about time. I'm not worried about it being overnight. So my thing is, I want to see it happen.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? So it's just going through this two motions. Someday, sometimes you have, like I said, you have a podcast, and then afterwards I'll walk around like an animal, like, yeah, man, fuck yeah, like I feel good, and I felt like I could, achieve something, and then some days when things aren't moving, and that's not because your fault, it's just how it is. It's coming to grasp with that and knowing that, okay, then you try to not let other things linger in, like life, and where you're going to be into 3 years, whatever it is. So it's challenging, always being motivated, but I do what I got to do to stay motivated.
I feel you, man. And look, here's why I asked the question. I mean, I feel like your answer was very telling of how, like, your growth. You have a very big growth mentality. Hence, you essentially find challenges so you can honor them and grow, embrace them essentially. Like, what that question illustrates is, like, in a way, the way we think about the world and about life. You say life is, and some people say challenging, some people say evolving. Like, when I asked this around the room, like, for example, in my group retreat thing, I went around, there was one guy who said life is beautiful. The guy that said life is evolving was actually like Tank, like really big, like strong guy. So he's always thinking about that, right? And there was a guy that said, when I went to him, he said life is confusing.
Yeah.
And guess what? Out of all the people at the retreat, he was the one guy that got lost on the way there.
Yeah.
Right? And the point I'm trying to make is like the answer to that question, it shapes our life and will essentially we can make something confusing even when it doesn't have to be. And for example, you say life is beautiful, even if something's great but it's not beautiful, you'll be like, man, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
And a way to demonstrate that is like, we can do it here, like some people who are watching can do it at home. If I was to tell you to look around the room now and tell me what you see that is brown, right? Like if you were to do it now, you'll be able to tell me a bunch, right? But if I get you to close your eyes and tell me what you just saw that was red, you'll be like,
true.
But now when you look for red, you can see more red, right? And sometimes we look at things which are not red, which are pink, but we say it's red to feel more. You did that, right?
Like, no, I saw this. That's
red. That's red for sure. But like we will look at stuff like this or like the Gatorade thing and be like, that's red enough. So basically, like Tony Robbins says, like seek and you shall find, and seek and you shall find even if it's not there, right? So the question really is, it's not to make any answer right or wrong. It's not about that. It's, is the answer right for what you're trying to do? So for example, if you're gonna say, if you're trying to create for example, like a incredible community, like incredible networked community where we all look after each other, and like that type of thing, the question to ask is, well, what is the best way to think about life that's going to support us? Because the way we think about life will change what we're going to see and what we won't see. So if we think life is full of opportunities, life is always happening for me. But for example, we've all been in the stage where we've said life is happening to me, it's happening against me, it's not happening for me. And when you feel like life is happening against you, then you seem to find all these reasons, all these things going wrong that basically justify your belief. It's like a compounding thing, right? It justifies your belief that, life is against me this whole time. But if you think that life is working for you, then you just find ways to make life, like you'll find ways to think, it is happening for me. And therefore you're more receptive to opportunities. And in this game, it's all about finding opportunities.
100%.
Right?
And that's the battle. But I think it's the battle between knowing that and knowing that you're doing what you have to. Like everything that I've done to this point, I panned out prior to even me jumping on this journey this year. Right? Like everything that's happening to this point and whatever, I was like, this is how I'm gonna go about it. Because I felt strongly about that direction and knowing that this would be the way to go in terms of creating opportunities or meeting the right people. And you know what I mean? Like I'm not worried about, like I said, the end game. It's about, what do I got to do now? What do I got to do next? And that's all I go about it. The direction's there. It's the belief, and belief is a big word because it can make or break how you go about things. If you lose belief in something, it doesn't mean that you won't find the motivation for it again, but it's very hard to come back from. So for me, I always have the belief that this is possible, whether it's now, later, whatever it is, or even if it's not me, it's gonna happen. More than anything, it's the fact that I know it's gonna happen. Just in terms of my vision and what I'm trying to do.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's gonna become, I believe it'll be a norm one day. You know what I mean? So it's not even just about me. There's other people that are gonna try to do similar things. It's just, how do you tell yourself that you see that so clearly when no one else does? And that was the biggest battle for a long time. Was that, like you said, the wolves and the sheep, and I see something so powerful and so clear that it's like, am I fucking crazy for thinking that this is possible? You know what I mean? So that's that was the fighting and the things, the journeys that I went on. So that's why I say things are challenging. It doesn't mean that I'm not motivated, because that shit keeps me hungry. You know what I mean? It keeps me hungry. Like it's like, it was the same thing with fighting. Like, it's like there was a sense of I needed to prove myself.
But bro, if you look at your fights, you basically fucking believe that you're gonna make you're gonna make it. It's not even just your fights. Like I know the things you've done, right? you always had to believe you're going to make it happen, and then not only that, but make it like a success, right? And if you think about even your fights, like what you did was you got around like all those names that you got around, right? Like you were around the wolves, and I would say like that. I hope.
So to say like what I felt like just triggered something is that what I've realized so far is that no matter what, no matter how I felt, no matter how things challenging has been, I have been maybe say subconsciously still surrounding myself when I go and look for, when I was going to train, say, certain people I keep on myself, or, ask for certain mentors or whatever it is. The decisions I made or the things that I did was always in the realm of this thing that I felt was my purpose. So I was living my purpose.
Absolutely.
It's the difference was I started listening and not avoiding. I started listening to how I felt, started feeling how I felt, started realizing, man, like I feel very strongly about these things, and not worry about anything else. But that doesn't just come overnight. Like that's got it, because it's so easy to be complacent. Like it's so easy to lose that train of thought, because, like I said, going back to being, it's harder to be fit and easier to be unfit. It's the same thing. When you really, really want something that you got to scratch and claw for, it's gonna. And that's the truth. And that's what fighting taught me. That's what you've been going through the music, no matter at what height or whatever it got to. What people will see is just the end result. They don't know what the fuck I had to go through those 3 days, and us filming, and then everything, and all the people that were involved in everything, just to put out something on.
That drop through, you go to the location, people don't throw up,
shit like that. You know what I mean? So I started realizing that, man, end of the day, you've whatever it is you're strong about, you found a way to at least do it. And so there were aspects that always resonated with me that was the spirit of who I was, and that never went away. I've always found a way, that to let that come out. And so it's like now it's like, okay, I need to move away things that are distractions and put my whole heart into it.
Yes, amen.
And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to go back to certain avenues or whatever. It's that I need to be wholeheartedly in it, to be able to think, to be able to plot, to be able to be like, how do I go about it? All in. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I always say to my wife, it's the biggest fight. No matter how many fights I've been, this is the biggest one, because this is the one that means everything, and so, but all that has prepared me for these days where things may not move as quick as it does, or whatever it is, things are happening, things, like, I'm sure a lot of people would have thought, fuck, I'll have 10 podcasts, let alone, you know what I mean? So it's not about the standard and whatever. It's just with art, it's a matter of having a thought, creating it, and then seeing it come to life. And that satisfaction, no amount of money in the fucking world is gonna ever fucking give you that satisfaction.
Man.
You know what I mean? And just having a train of thought, and then being able to let it be cultivated in your head and your mind, and then to bringing it to life. People don't understand how fucking tough that process alone is. So I started to realize it's never been about everything out there. It's been about everything in here. And that's really what I'm trying to say, is that every decision, whatever it is, all I've known, it's always been in here. I just needed to stop listening and just acting and allow it to come out. And it's not, like I said, look, I don't care where it ends. Just the satisfaction getting up, like it's my fight, like I'm all in, like I'm ready to scratch and crawl for this, just the way I had to for all the other things that I did. You know what I mean?
I couldn't do, like, speaking of, there's a couple of things there. Like, speaking of all in, like here's one of the. I actually yesterday morning, I had breakfast with one of my mentors from the place I used to work. Because as you know, right, I used to work in corporate. I worked in corporate for years, left corporate for good, never going back, doing my own thing. So met up with him. He's such a great guy, and this is the guy that if I fell flat on my face, I would have been able to message him, and he would have got me a job back in this corporate thing. And so as we were talking, he was like, Dim, like, what was the moment for you that you're 100% in there? Like, how did that start? Because God bless him, here's what he said to me. He's like, I know, Dim, when you said you were going to leave our organization, I know you had thoughts of working 3 days a week and doing your thing as well, like, part-time. And he's like, man, I couldn't have said, I felt like I wasn't allowed to say this to you because I needed you to just go on your own journey. But I really wanted to tell you, don't get a part-time job and do this. Go. He's like, just go all in.
Yeah.
You know, and
like later on you'll figure out, like if you like
the logistics.
If you got to go back to logistics of it. If you got to go back part-time, whatever, but the train of thought, the idea, like you got to be all in to see what is it that you're trying to do and how you're going to allow the journey to happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so for me, this was the most important thing, bro. I said to myself, because here's why I bring this up, because I'm sure so many people listening, out of them, a lot of people are thinking they want to do something else, but they're scared or something, right? They don't even approach it. He asked me, I asked myself, what would I do if I knew I wouldn't fail? Right? And then I'm like, well, that's easy. Like, I would leave this and I'd cancel my property deals and whatever, and I'm just going to do this thing until it worked. And then I was like, well, why am I not doing it? And then I realized I'm not doing it because I don't actually believe in myself. And then I realized, hey, like, if I don't believe in myself, who will? Like, what's the point of Jana taking 3 hours out of his day to talk to me, right? Or like, or all the people who believe in me, Chris, like all these guys, what's the point of them mentoring me and being good to me and all that stuff? It's never going to work if I don't believe in myself, you know? And you either do or you don't at the end of the day.
100%. And that's what it is. It's not it's not a bad or a good thing. It really just comes down to that. And I think people, you know, you shouldn't think about the end game sometimes. You should have a direction and just worry about what you need to do next. And, you know, it's tough, man. It's not easy, but I think people are capable of doing great things, man. It's just a matter of allowing yourself, like,
to do it,
and that's it. And that comes with certain principles of healthy, like, you know, even like you were talking about meditation, just to kind of end it. Like for me, training was a form of meditation. That's why I could resonate with you when you talk about affirmation. When I train or whatever it is, man, like I said, I'm playing a whole story in my head, my life, you know, where I've been. Like, I'm going through so much thoughts. Like, that's what I said. Like, I visualize in a way that, like, I'm not saying I'm the only one or whatever. It's just, you can't explain it. Like, you know, creativity and just, you know, whatever it is. But I've used those moments and that time to kind of allow myself to get what, you know, to allow myself to go through whatever I'm going through. Let the thoughts flow through, and, you know, and just let it all flow through. And that has always allowed me to be confident in what I'm doing. You know, be confident in, you know, what type of person I want to be. It's not to say I'm perfect or whatever, but it's just certain principles and just my direction and what I'm trying to achieve, and it made me sure of that. So, you know, and then obviously I found meditation, and I did Qigong, all these different things, and then I believed in it even more, because I was like, this has allowed me to really just have a focus. What's my purpose? You know, what is it I'm trying to do? You know, and like I said, it could be anything. Like I said, like with Dan, who came yesterday, loves doing the fire shows and whatever. And I said, it's funny, huh? Something with a stick with 2 fires gives you a purpose and a passion that other people that think that whatever is will never be able to feel that. And you're so happy and you're so content with life and everything else, and practicing and teaching Qigong. It's crazy that something like that could do that for somebody. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, where he's allowed himself to explore and see these things. As I say, a lot of things are all around us, but do we allow ourselves to see it and let it feel it, you know, and experience it, you know what I mean? And when you allow yourself to do that, you realize, man, there's levels to this shit. There's what, you know what I mean? And there's so much we're capable of doing. You know, but you got to figure out what's relevant and what's not. And that's, like I said, it all comes down to whether you make it about yourself or about everything else.
Dude, I gotta ask on that. I know we're our conversation's going all over the place, but that's typical of us. If I was to ask you, I'd like to ask you 3 questions right now. All right. The first one is this: how would you describe yourself, if you don't mind? You know, with young Dim, he goes pretty deep, right?
Why don't you like a fucking knife or some shit like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, yeah, you don't have to go medieval on me. But just, who
man,
are
I
you?
don't know. Like, I mean, fuck, I'm all over the place, right? Emotionally, but no, like not in a bad way, but I'm a proud person. Pride is a big thing, you know. I speak my mind. You know, I'm stubborn, but you know, I think the way you look at it is, you know, when I even if I'm stubborn with certain things, is because I'm so pedantic about certain things or wanting to do certain things. But yeah, man, I'm all sorts. But when I think about, you know, me, like just man, you know, the word art, like, you know, art, like I love creating art. That's who I am. Like I love seeing it, and I have an appreciation for it. But yeah, man, like I just can't put it down to one thing, like
No,
in terms
that's
of
okay.
who, you know, who am I? But
Because here's my second
yeah,
question. You're gonna hate me for this,
mm,
but without using anything you just said
yeah,
just then,
yeah.
who are you?
Without using any of those words.
Without using
So
anything
another
you
word
just
completely.
yeah, well, like you can't use everything you just said then.
Yeah.
Who are you? Hey man, it's Dim.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm proud, man. Proud. Just, you know, not to make it cliche because I'm a Leo and whatever, but it's those elements of a lion. Like, you know, for me, it's always been about everyone else. Like, not just about everyone else. Like, you know, it's that pack mentality, man. It's that, you know, it's like pulling everyone in, you know. And it's funny because you've been down to my house and had some hectic times in my whole place. And I remember someone telling me, it's like, dude, only at your house do I meet people I never meet anywhere else in life, except under your roof. And I said to him, man, I always had it, and I always used to vision that one day I'll just have a whole bunch of people from all different walks of life knowing each other and making everyone realize that religion means shit, your color means shit, where you're from means shit, that we all bleed the same. Funny enough, like that just came up in my head.
I love it.
And that's like when I was in my 19, 20, 20, probably 21, 22, around that time that we were at my place, and one guy, a friend of mine, asked me that question. So, and that's what I told him at that time. Anyway, early days, yeah.
And I said I had three questions.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Here's the last one.
Yeah.
This is good, right?
Yeah, last and only. Yeah.
Last and only. I better make it good then.
Yeah.
Here's the last
Don't
one.
ask me who I am again, bro.
Without using everything you just said all
for
above,
fuck's sakes, bro.
who are you?
Man.
Uncle Jay. I miss you, man.
Visionary, bro. Visionary. I see things that I feel like a normal person doesn't see. And when I mean normal person, I'm not saying everyone else is not. I think it's just like a lot of people don't see it. And certain people and I feel, I mean, not to put it in a bad way, I think visioning what I have visioned and following that has introduced me to people that understand it. But even I see the shock in even just like that idea that I have and how I got, you know, with people that I've spoken to and told them what I'm doing and whatever, it's like they've never even heard of that idea.
Yeah.
But it feels so normal to me because of what I've grown up seeing. And, you know, I've touched on even just every morning looking at what's happening in the hip hop news and just, you know, the art form and how they put documentaries out, and you know what I mean. Like, I know everyone's, you know, people creative, whatever, but the way it affects me, the way it makes me, it could change my mood just when I watch certain things, or when I, you know, watch certain documentaries or whatever it is. It like flick switches. Like, I can't even explain how it makes me feel, you know. So I see shit, man. Like, I see shit that's possible. I see shit that's gonna, you know, and going back to what I said, it's gonna fucking go down, you know, it's gonna be remembered, you know. And I'm not worried about the world, I'm just saying it's gonna be remembered, whether it's by you, whether it's by the people that paid attention. I don't give a fuck about, you know. But yeah, man, like, like I said to someone, I want my legacy and my name and what my family's name almost engraved engraved in concrete by the time I fucking die, because that's what,
Good.
you know. So for me, the vision, like, that's how I see it. For me, it's like they're gonna remember, you know, they're gonna remember this. And whether it's I set out to go do it, what I mean is my idea, my thoughts, and what is possible. Whether I do it, the person I pass the baton on to, the person that does it, it's gonna fucking happen. You know, it's gonna, I see it clear as day, you know, and it's just listening. For me, the battle was that, how can I have all these feelings? How can I have all this and feel so strong and so real? And it's like not normal, you know, it doesn't feel normal because you look at everyone else that goes it, you know what I mean? But that's what it goes back to my one thing I said, it's about this, you know, and that's, I started listening to
and
this
trusting it,
and trusting it, because I have been in platforms where I'm putting myself out to the world, fighting alone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thrive in those conditions. That's what I live for. I live for those moments because I know they're doubting, you know, there's doubt, you know what I mean? And they could say whatever they want, but I know that's just fine, you know what I mean? So, but I put myself through those. I've experienced certain things that I feel like is setting me up for this journey. And I keep it still, but it's set me up. It's taught me lessons. It's taught me life lessons. It's taught me lessons about myself and what I'm capable of doing if I put my mind to it. So for me, I have this vision, and that's what keeps me up at night, what wakes me up in the morning. Yeah. That's your number 3, motherfucker.
Oh man, thank you for sharing that.
I appreciate you coming, man.
I hope you didn't mind, man. It's your 10th podcast.
No, it's my double digits, man. I had to make it a special one. Doesn't matter who watches it, doesn't fucking, it was awesome, bro. And I'm sure, man, I mean, you're gonna be a regular for probably as long as this is running, you'll be a regular, man. So
it's like Aubrey Marcus and Joe Rogan. I'm very, very honored, man.
No, man. And man, it was good catching up with you, and keep doing what you're doing, man. And for people that don't know, jump on that whole raw sessions, and you know, he's doing females now too. He's doing it for females as well. So you know, all you women and girls, go for it.
What it's about, if for the people who haven't the last podcast. So it's a 45-minute guided dynamic meditation class. The first half of it is all slowly amping up into really crazy expression type exercises. It's called raw because at a point we get everyone roaring. We do things to shake the body and let all the trauma out, and really let out everything that's not helping you. Just shake it off. And then the second part of it is more on gratitude and the more centering part. So we were actually doing a session tomorrow. So it's a way to reset and refocus and recenter and go forward. And there's a lot of regulars now since we've been doing it every month. And I do it at Maroubra Beach in Saturday mornings once every month. And I'm doing a men's one followed by a women's one back to back. The women's one was awesome, man. Because I all the coaching that I actually do is for men. So I just did the women's one because a lot of them asked them. So
nice, man. Make sure you guys check it out though. The legendary Dim.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you.